So we'll start the discussion off with strength. The first card is Mage Slayer. I gave this a 2.5. What would you give it, Hircine?
I agree with 2.5. It's not an amazing card. The effect is kind of useful, but not always. And the stats are good, but not amazing. So yeah, the card is just average. So 2.5 out of 5. It's average score.
Also, it dies to drain vitality and negation, so not playable in this meta, I think, forever. It was playable when Control Mage was viable, not anymore.
Yeah, even back then it wasn't like
amazing.
It wasn't seeing much play, but yes, just people that really hated Control Mage.
I think coming back to like the rating scale in general here, like once again, this is a card that's not going to be standard in any deck. But hypothetically, for a certain meta, like, you know, given a certain situation, maybe someone does use it at some point, but it's nothing that you're going to be seeing day to day.
Alright. There's going to be a lot of epics, so if it's not a very relevant card, we shouldn't spend too long on it. Because I think said there was 160. So move on to Dust's favorite card, Plunder. I don't have any words to say about this, other than it fits in Unite the Houses. I gave it a 2 or 2.5.
Yeah, I think it's an okay card for resource extension. It's quite cheap for what it does, but yeah, it's a bit too random. So
yeah, I think for tournament play in particular, there are situations where you can deliberately ramp up the randomness. And we don't need to dwell too deeply into this, but basically, I think if you think that you're in a pool of players where you're average or maybe even below average compared to the other people, if you want to maximize your chances of winning, actually ramping up the coin flippiness can be actively beneficial for you, which I think was like actually a good strategy by Dust in the grand final. I think that was like a good choice in some ways. So that's one thing to consider with just how you're designing your decks, depending on what you're doing.
Alright, Blighted Alet. 2.5 again. It's only sees play in Prophecy Battle Mage, but that deck is not
and even then, he does it tier 4 deck, and even then, it's just not every Prophecy Battle Mage runs it. It's just the very dedicated ones, which are usually the worst. So I would even go less. I'll probably give it, well, it's 2.5, so I'll give it a 2. So
yeah, I can see it as a 2.
Yeah.
Alright, next card. Fearless Northlander. This card doesn't seem that bad on paper, but just never sees play.
Yeah, the problem is that you have to have it stick for a few turns. So it doesn't do anything the turn that it sees, and then you have to have some kind of synergy. And if you have to start trading in order to enable the synergy, then yeah, it's way too slow. I don't know, I think it's just way too dedicated to hurting your own guys. So yeah, I'll give it a 2.
I don't think it has the support to really properly work yet. Like, they've started putting more out for it, but it's just, there isn't enough in that archetype to really justify it.
I think Sir Choate ran this in, what's it called? East Empire Crafter deck. It wasn't too bad. So there you can still play it.
Yeah, I can see it with East Empire Crafter working out.
Yeah.
3 6 for free with guard. That's like a Hive Defender for one less Magicka, but I don't think that's it's because of the effect very relevant. It's just the stats, right?
Alright. Hlaalu Sharpshooter. I'm not sure what to give this. 3.5?
Yeah, I do agree. You do need some kind of synergy. You can't just play Hlaalu Sharpshooter, so you need to have like a deck with low curve that plays 0 and 1 drops. It wouldn't go in a deck that doesn't do that. So yeah, I think it's a bit less useful than a spinner, which is like the card that you would immediately compare it to. But in those decks, it's better than a spinner.
Yeah, I think both of those cards are super key in general to red. So I agree with this rating where, yeah, it should be below Spinner, but still, like, if you have a deck that can't support it, you really do want to include it. So I think it being in that spot makes sense.
We'll move on to Withered Hand Cultist. 4. I think it's solid 4.
Yeah, this is a card that really punishes control. It does it really well, and it's quite cheap for what it does. And the stats are not terrible, like they're not good, but at least you're developing something on the board, right? You're not dedicated control hate, like even in aggro matchups it's gonna have some use. So yeah, it's a good card, and if you wanna play aggressive decks, you should craft it.
I think this is something we'll see a lot with a lot of these cards that we consider to be just really strong in the vacuum. They get the really high ratings. You actively want to include them. Okay, they usually have a powerful effect, but also just the stats on board are really solid consistently. And yeah, just that overall just consistent power in a vacuum is really important to a lot of the most powerful cards. So yeah.
Yeah, I auto-conceded against this when I was playing Stealer of Secrets, so...
Oh yeah, like if you see this on curve, yeah, that's your best option. Like there is no way you can deal with this. It's either this or you hope for a Prophecy Lightning bot next turn, or that's it. Right.
Alekira's Survivalist.
So that's the one that gives you a Steel Dagger, right?
Yeah.
And then, right. Yeah, so that's a very dedicated item. Item deck card.
I don't think I've seen it in any deck except for Aine's Voice the Balance item deck. So I'll give this a 2. Like, it's not bad, but it's not very playable either.
Yeah, I've seen it played, but it just needs so much additional support in order to be good, and payout is not that great. Like, it's pretty good. I'd be surprised the amount of stats I've seen on Alex Survivalist. It just goes out of hand really quickly, but you need to stick it for a turn, and yeah, so it's the amount of support that it needs. Not worth it most of the time, but I've seen it. I've lost to this card. So yeah, I agree with 2.
EndoZoa, any thoughts?
And I agree with everything that's been said. It's playable in one deck, isn't really that strong in a vacuum, but has niche uses too.
Alright. Oh, Dushnik Yaal Archer. Okay. I think people overrate this card. I think you can only really play it in control and maybe orcs. So I think I would give this a 4 or 3.5.
I think it's a bit too slow for orcs actually.
Yeah, I think 3.5. Like, I think probably the same level as Hlaalu Sharpshooter, probably next to me.
Yeah, like even in control, you don't auto-include it unless it's a Hlaalu meta or a support meta. But like with the presence of Mana and Shrine, it's probably pushes this to a 4.
I do think that if you're playing a control deck, you should have something for support removal, and Dushnik Archer is probably the best one we have. It's probably better than Shadowfen. At least if I could run it in Scout, I would choose Dushnik over Shadowfen.
So would you give this a 4 then?
I give it a 4. The problem is that strength control is not really a thing.
Yeah, it's playable in like Dagoth control or Doomcrag Warrior.
Doomcrag Warrior, Rage Archer. Those are decks that it's probably 5% of the ladder. All 3 of them together.
Rage Archer also just is kind of dead right now, and also you shouldn't play this card in Rage Archer. I'm sure some people do, but it depends on the variant you're taking. But if you're playing a Baroness build, maybe. But I think particularly in the current meta, you shouldn't. It varies in the direction you're taking, and it's also meta dependent. But I think as of right now, if you want to play it, like I think the optimalist shouldn't be running it personally.
I just strongly disagree with control decks that don't have any support removal. Then you just someone plays something like a Mundustone and you just lose because you have no way to deal with it by the stupidest card ever. So yeah, I think if you're on control deck, you should have some sort of support interaction.
Yeah, I mean my Rage build plays triple belly, so you have that. But, yeah.
Like this is the best answer to mana right now, right? Other than Dismantle.
Yeah, but there is the problem that control rate is not really a thing, so I'll give it 3.5.
Yeah.
So just for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, next card, Earthbone Spinner. I really like this card, but I've seen people mostly play it as a 2-of. I know SLW used to put this in all of his decks. I played 4 or 4.5.
Yeah, it's really good. It fits all kinds of strategies. Like if you're aggressive, there's just so much it can do. It can get rid of the shackle, so it can push damage, or it gets rid of a guard or a drain. And then if you're on control, it can reveal something in the shadow lane, or just get rid of a really annoying effect. Like, I don't know, a ward or something. Or just an answer to Bannerman. It's had some uses in control, but it's never amazing. Like, they're always better answers than silence, but silence is just so flexible, right?
Yeah, even the ping effect.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
I think this is kind of the key thing from a crafting perspective, is that, it's true that a lot of decks will only run maybe like 1 or 2 copies of this, but it's pretty rare that you find a red deck that actually runs 0, I think. And so, like, what we're talking about, okay, it's not like the most powerful card, but it's just always solid enough that you basically always have at least 1 or 2 copies of it. I think that means that should tell you right there the importance of crafting, and that from on a scale that's designed for relevance as far as crafting, this needs to be at least a 4 or 4.5, just because of how relevant it is in basically every deck that can run it.
Yeah.
Right. So what rating?
4.5.
Yeah, I can agree with 4.5.
Okay. False Incarnate, very interesting effect. But I'm not sure what to give this. I put it as a 3, just because of the stat line.
Yep.
Yeah, the stat is good, right? Like, it's not amazing, but it's good.
Yeah, I mean, 4 toughness is a big problem in TESL. So it definitely has some major issues as a result of that. There's a lot of things that trade into it, and classic, dies to bolt. But certainly it's still fine on board. I think there's just, we've seen, I know, like, PDMD was running it in mid-Digoth for a while, and eventually ended up cutting it. And same thing with Thuldir, I believe. They were both running in mid-Digoth and eventually decided to cut it, because despite the fact that the 4 slot is really light in that deck, it basically just wasn't lining up. Like, there was too much of a sacrifice. You're paying for the effect. Like, your opponent can't gain health. Text on it actually does reduce its stats. And yeah, I think both of those guys found that it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Oh, like, it's just one of those cards that's so difficult to evaluate, because even when you start playing it, so your opponent can't heal, but he is just never gonna play out his heal while this card is on the board. So it is possible that he has a lot of heal options in his hand, but he just can't play it, and you win the game because he can't play it, but you just never realize it. Yeah, so it's just one of those cards that are really, really difficult to evaluate. But yeah, I've not been quite impressed by it. I have had it played against me, and it's never been more than a 4 Magicka 5/4.
Yep.
Yeah, you compare this to Ogrim, and it can gain cover, but I'm not sure if it's better than Ogrim.
I think it's better than Ogrim. I think the downside of Ogrim that it can't gain cover is a huge downside. I think a 5/4 is better than a 7/4 that can gain cover.
I think the strategies that can utilize this card are more broad than Ogrim. Like, I don't think I don't think Ogrim is necessarily like an unplayable card, but there are more places you can utilize this.
But,
Yeah.
okay, Ogrim eats Hive Defender. I think that's his biggest strength. But I guess it's not exactly Hive Defender meta.
No, Hive Defender is at its worst right now.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so 3, do we agree? Or 2.5? 3?
I think 2.5.
Yeah, I think 2.5 is fine.
Gladiator Arena. This card used to be insane. Well, not insane, but tier 1 deck. And now I think it's a 2 or 1.5.
Yeah. It's like, if your opponent is on something that is mildly aggressive or has the possibility to push damage, this card will lose the game.
Like 4 mana is too much.
Yeah. I mean, if your opponent never plans on hitting face, this card is insane, but...
Yeah, even control can outrace this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be in conjunction with other things, of course. Like, you have to... that's the classic thing with any symmetric effect, is you have to do something to break the symmetry, and so if you don't care about your life and your opponent does care about theirs, this can be strong. But it can't be, of course, it can't be like a racing tool on its own.
So it just feels like it's past its meta, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't think
Dushniks really hurt it.
Yeah.
And Edict being playable in Tribunal.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I'm fine with 2.
Yep. Could even be 1.5, honestly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so
Hit and Run, I think it's a 2.
Mm-hmm.
In combo decks, right?
Like, what combo would want a hit and run?
Sentinel was running 4 combo Dagoth. He was running Wisp Raiders, Therena, OTK, Thieves Guild Fence. And you played this as a Market Archer as well, right? I don't know.
I mean,
it's a cassetting
I
card.
think it's pretty bad in Market Archer. I tried to play with it. And yeah, most of the time, you just use it when you want to concede. So just to show your opponent that you have it.
Okay,
I don't think you ever won a game because of it.
I actually think this is a good example of a 2 for me, and the reason is because I agree with Karakon that this isn't a playable card right now, but I also think this is an extremely powerful effect. Drawing 5 cards is something really, really strong, and if we can learn anything from other TCGs and CCGs, if there is something that can take advantage of it, that's something that could potentially be exploitable. Now, I don't think the design team is probably going to try to make cards in such a way that's going to enable that kind of strategy. However, we saw Nixox happened, so you never know. There could be some sequence of cards that gets printed that, creates some sort of Storm-esque deck. There's just lots of cheap cards that can interact favorably in like an Abomination. Like, do you think you'd play this in Abomination to make sure you never brick? I don't know.
But like, I don't know. Cassetta mentioned Therena.
Abomination can't run red though.
Okay, we'll just give this a 1.5 or 1. A 2. I think. What? Super says it's a 1.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give it a 1, so let's meet in the middle. 1.5.
1.5. Yeah, I agree with 1.5.
Alright. It has potential, but it's very hard to see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Imposter's Mission. I know this card is good in Arena, but how about Constructed? You rather just run a 4-drop.
Can you tell me what this card does?
Oh, 4 mana action. Summon an Imposter with power and health equal to the power of your most powerful creature.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like I read this card and it didn't seem that bad, but then I've not seen it anywhere.
I think it's just super win more, and as I think this is very bad in Arena too for that reason. I think just as a general piece of theory in games, like it's more important to have cards that can bring you back into a game where you're behind than have cards that can continue to snowball you forward. And the issue is this card doesn't even really snowball you very well. Like the best case scenario, right, is you play, you go turn 3 Mighty Ally, turn 4. This is a 6/6, but in this game, 4-mana 5/5 is kind of that's like a strong body. So in 4-mana 6/6, yes, is noticeably better than that, but that's your like super crazy high roll scenario where you like have the best possible 3-drop to line into it. And so I think again, this is one of the situations where maybe in some crazy hypothetical world, we can. I mean, you can play a bunch of Bog Lurchers and do something stupid and give them charge.
That did happen to me in Arena.
But yeah.
Bog Lurcher into this?
Yeah. Because in Arena, you just don't have answers. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, maybe there's some OTK with this, but in an actual curve deck, this is a bad card. It's just actively bad.
No, you don't play this in a curve deck.
No, ever. No. I agree with one, actually. I think this has less chance of seeing play in a deck than Hit and Run does.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
Ogrim. I like this in Old Archer, but Old Archer is dead.
Yeah, I saw Link trying to make Old Archer work. It was really sad stream. Just Link in denial, trying to make it work, but losing
it's
all
a
the
Viper
time.
meta too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad when you first see it, but then you start playing it and you realize how big cover is.
Yeah. I mean, I think similar to Imposter's Mission, right? This is a card that only works when you're ahead. You have to have control board to utilize it at all. And that's a major drawback. Like, the most important types of cards, the cards that can bring you back from behind, are the ones that can take a game from even position to a winning position.
But this is different though. Like oftentimes you could just drop it in the opposite lane and start racing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would give it a 3. But it might have dropped from there.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 or 2.5. I mean, it sees no play currently, so I think again, like out of fairness to like listeners, I don't think we can. It shouldn't be given a 3 for the purposes of crafting, because even if there are niche decks it can go into, I just don't think it's. I don't think unless you're really teching and building decks competitively, you should craft it. So it's probably a 2 in my book.
I would go for 2.5. I think the effect's a bit more useful than some of the tools that we've given.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you don't dust this card, but you don't craft it. That's where I would put Ogrim.
Of course, it depends how aggressive you want to go with this thing, but if you want to keep potentially useful cards, you might want to keep those.
Yep.
Alright, let's move on to the next card. Stormcloak Avenger. 1, 1.5, 1, 1. Yeah, 1.
So, was this the 4/4 that summons 2/2s?
It has the Allendale line, I think, right?
Yeah, it's on the clan, but red and bad.
And makes and
really bad. Yeah. This card is terrible. This card is absolutely horrible. It's so conditional when the payout is so. I don't think we should be even spending time at it. Just give it to one and move on.
I didn't even realize it's 3 more friendly creatures, not even just creatures.
Oh wow, it's 3 friendly creatures?
Yeah, so that's like never happening. So it's basically just a 4/4. So yeah, it's a 1. Yeah.
Okay, but it does have a Nord tag, so.
Yeah, and the body.
Nord tribal maybe, so.
Yeah, you can play with Ulfric and the Red Child.
I don't think that's ever gonna actually happen.
Roleplay Nords. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
1.
Yeah, and speaking of roleplay Nords, we have Trebuchet, which is a Nord card. So it's obviously a 5 in that deck.
Yep.
Yeah, Nord tribal. That's the new meta. Everyone craft your trebuchets and Stormcloak Avengers and start impersonating Nords.
And don't forget Forsaken Champion. It boosts all class by 1+1+1 and when it's on board.
Oh wow! I didn't even think of that. So your trebuchet would be a 1/5?
Yeah. Doesn't die to lightning bolt, which is better than most cards.
I'll say Trebuchet does have one of the better attack sounds in the game.
Oh, I actually never heard it. What does it do?
It's like a mechanical like swinging sound. It's like it sounds like it needs to be greased. Yeah.
Okay. So just dust this card and we'll move on.
Yep.
Burn and pillage. Oh gosh.
I don't think Trebuchet is that bad to just dust.
Okay, in seriousness, you would not dust this card?
I would not dust Trebuchet, no. I've never played it, but I would never dust it.
You don't think it's actually a one?
Okay, it's a trebuchet. Just because of the name, you do not dust this card.
Yeah, it's a trebuchet. There's so many trebuchet memes. Like, why would you dust it?
It's true. There are a lot of meme decks you're giving up on if you're getting rid of it.
Okay.
Okay. Burn and pillage.
Dude, this sound used to give me nightmares, but back in the day, it would be 5 out of... Not 5, but a solid 4, because it used to be 6 mana and deals to both lanes, but now it's a 5 mana, deal 1 damage to all enemy creatures in a lane for each destroyed enemy. It doesn't see play in any decks. I've seen it once this season, but I think it's a 2.
Yeah, someone was running it. I forgot who it was, but someone was running it quite a lot on ladder.
Yes,
Fearwolf.
Fearwolf, yeah, in Mid-Dagoth last season.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think there is. We have it 1.5 here, so yeah, I kind of agree. It's really hard to make it work. Just one lane. It's like it's quite easy to play around it if you know it's coming. So if it ever becomes meta, if people learn how to play around it, it will fall out of flavor again. But yeah, the power level is not there to be meta in the first place, so
I think
you can surprise your opponent every once in a while when he's on 5 HP and
for sure.
But yeah, that's all unlikely.
Yeah, I think on that note too, this is a card to think about. It's much better in closed decklist environments, so you could play it on ladder and ESL, but you'd never bring it to like a TESL CS or something.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, 1.5, it's quite bad right now.
Do you think it could be reverted to its old state, or would that be too powerful? Like in this meta, no,
right? It's hard to say. I never had it. I didn't play it in other times, so I don't know.
I wasn't playing that either, so I don't know.
Because it used to be a racing tool, and like against control, you just clear all the guards with it. Alright, we'll move on to the next card. Fletcherfly Golem. 5 mana, 5/5. It's just better.
So this is the guy that summons 2/2 golems, right?
Yes, if it's damaged.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not the worst. Like the stat line is not that bad. The effect is not amazing. It's just like a really small plus. It's kind of like regenerate. Like there is something that is very marginally playable, but yeah, like it's not good enough. So it's mostly the stat line, right?
It feels like a memory wraith or something.
Yeah.
I think the stat line isn't good enough to see play outside of a deck that's actively looking to take advantage of it. So unless you're actively damaging your own creatures, this doesn't see play. But maybe if that's ever a deck, I don't think it could be a viable deck right now. But if more cards get printed for that archetype, if there's a way to chain ping your guys, maybe you can do it.
I could see that. So we'll put it as a 2. I mean, its stats aren't bad. It's bristleback stats.
Yeah, 5 Magicka 5/5 is okay. So I think just the stats is enough for 2. The effect I think is meaningless for me. I don't see it ever being good.
Alright, let's move on. Gratwood Ambusher. I'll give this 2, 2.5. 2. I think 2, yeah.
What is the card again?
Gratwood Ambusher is 5 mana, 4/2. Wood Elves. Prophecy. Deal 1 damage to all enemies, creatures.
This used to see a lot more play back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the day, You would Grotwood Ambusher, and then you can fill in SD Reaver. Or something like that.
Well, okay. not
but
this.
then you played Chaos Reaper was meta, so...
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking more like Prophecy Battle Mage, or maybe one Doomcrack.
Yeah, it's playable in niche decks. But even then, it's not very good.
This never sees play in Doomcrack anymore, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good when it comes out of Prophecy, but it's really sad when it comes down from hand.
Right. So do you think in like a dedicated anti-aggro version of Doomcrack, you could consider it as a tech card?
You could, yeah.
If it's in a token meta, yeah, but it's not token meta, so no.
Yeah, but maybe, again, that maybe leaves it as a 2 because it could be a tech choice for some metas.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see that too.
Alright. Bannerman. I rated this
really
as 3.5. I love this card too.
I really like it. Yeah.
It has Bolt Syndrome, but because if it goes off, you kind of just win the game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, the effect. And it's a really interactive card. So yeah, like you have to attack with it. So your opponent has a chance to actually answer it. But so yeah, I think it's a really well designed card, to be honest, and I really enjoy playing it. So yeah, but yeah, I think the power level, like, it's okay. It's it depends on the meta, right? Sometimes the meta is too fast for it. Like you can't afford to do nothing on turn 5. You want to develop like a guard or something, or clear. But yeah, if the meta is a bit slower, I think this card, it's really, really amazing. Like just forcing your opponent to have an answer, that's really, really good.
And Scout doesn't have many good answers for this. It's Pet and Shadowfen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because mostly Pets. Shadowfen just lives behind the 4/4.
Yeah, because like Crushing Blow doesn't even deal with this. So like the spot removal you might run doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see it as a 3.5.
Yeah, I think it could even be a 3 just because it doesn't see much play right now. So again, as far as like being honest with listeners, but I think in a vacuum,
I think it's a 3. But I really like this card, so I would give it 3.
Okay, yeah, probably it's a 3, to be honest. But yeah, I just love playing with it. Also, the effect, it's not that amazing in all decks. Like, you want a deck that has some kind of firebrand synergy, so you want your deck to have like an orphan outpost or some kind, or clan captain or fervor, or just some kind of interaction, so you can actually get some value from the firebrands. So yeah, it doesn't go into just any deck, but it's quite easy. Like if you want to play those decks, they are actually good. Like you can play it in Hlaalu and be successful.
Yep.
Right now.
Yeah. Alright. So this was playable in Merrick, but Merrick is dead. Math Satyr is okay, and definitely in Hlaalu or Token Synergies, or even Doomcrag.
Yeah.
Alright, Child of Hircine. Very cool effect, and very fun OTK decks. It's a solid stat line, but it has the problem of being 6 mana to do nothing on summon. So I'd give this a 3.
Just asking to get Belligerent Giant or Shackled.
Yeah.
I'd even say 2.5 right now, honestly. I think too, like, this is a card that saw some play in Rage Archer before Clockwork City came out, but I think now that we have Cradle Crush as well as Clockwork Scorpion, there's really no need. So I don't think that there is really a deck that runs this right now. Yeah,
I think it's kind of like a Bannerman in a sense. It's just demands an answer, right? You can't leave it on the board and not shackle it or remove it or silence it even. But the problem is that it costs 1 more Magicka, and Bannerman is already sometimes too slow, and this is even slower than that.
Also, I think the reward is lower. Like, the thing with Bannerman is it's very high risk, but it's also very high reward. I think with this, it's kind of just both ends of the spectrum are brought down. I don't like it's a high mana cost, but I don't think you're paying like quite the same risk because the body's still fine for the cost.
Well, like it can straight up win you the game sometimes. Like if you have some kind of to give it breakthrough or heal, and you just gamble on turn 6 and then go necklace, like the amulet. Necklace, I mean, and then shadow shift, and then you heal for 40 HP in one turn, and that's the game won. Like I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
It was more common when Rage was 7 cost because you can curve this.
Yeah.
I think even more than that again, it was because Rage Archer had no viable 6-drops. Like it was like you could run this, you could run an Elena, you could run. Like there was a time where I was running Stampede Sentinel because there just weren't 6-drops. So
yeah, but I think it's Clockwork Scorpion.
Yeah, there's Clockwork Scorpion and Cradle Crush. So there's just no reason anymore.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a 3, maybe 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I like 2.5.
Been down to 2. All right, Stampede Dread Clan Fear first. So it's an Intimidate on a 6/3 stick. So I don't know. What would you give this?
It's pretty bad. Like it costs so much for what it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could maybe give it a 1.5 because again, like there might be a deck at some point that's a board control deck that just jams tons of guards, and I don't know. For me, like if you're gonna oh, I want to tech for this deck, the way you tech for it is you don't play a deck that can't beat that, rather than sticking this awful card in your deck. Like I don't know.
I've beat it once, so yeah. All right, I've gotten beaten by it once, so maybe we'll just put it as 1.5. Okay, let's move on. Stampede Sentinel. So this card was printed after the Prophecy Battle Mage meta, and it was supposed to counter Dark Rift and Gladiator Arena, but it didn't really do that. And it just has the Belligerent Giant tag all over it.
Yeah, I think I started playing TESL like the month that this card came out. So other than that, I don't really have much else to say because I've just never seen it being played.
Yeah, I mean, so for me again, I guess has a little bit of a soft spot for me because like I actually had some tournament success with this card. But I don't think it'll probably be viable again. I don't think the subtext thing matters. It might as well just be flavor text, that the action support damage thing. But there are maybe some metas where you bring it in as a curve. But like it was really important for being able to win the scout matchup back in the day, because you could just present enough big threats that they couldn't deal with them fast enough. But I think 1.5, maybe a 2, but yeah, it's super meta dependent and super fringe.
All right, we'll move on. Whirling Duelist. So this is only playable with probably combined with Daedric Dagger. It's kind of a board clear, but it's too situational.
Yeah. Right, Warriors, I think it's from you. There is some noise, dragging noise with your mic.
Yeah, there is from Warriors. Yeah.
My mic?
Yeah.
What kind of noise
I think you're doing. I think you're doing something to your mic.
Oh.
It's not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But there was like some. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was moving around. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we saw someone bring that to Warp Meta like a week or two ago. There was someone who was playing Whirly Girl combo in Doomcrag, but I agree that I think that's a suboptimal Doomcrag list. Again, like it's hard to say like this is a completely unusable card because we just saw someone use it in a tournament, but I just don't think it's.
Yeah, Matt was trying to make it work with the Lethal Dagger.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
That was like, I don't know, quite a few months back, and I don't think he had much success with it. He had some, just like, but not too much. So I think it's an It could see some play potentially, but it's not there right now. So yeah, I would leave it at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestors Battle Axe 1. It's literally there just for the plunder pool and the Merrick pool, I think.
Yeah, I think we can just leave this at Hotfinger lull and then move on.
Yeah. Karakon?
I don't think it's well. Yeah, it's a. I don't know, 1.5. I don't think it's that terrible of a card on itself to give it a 1, but so yeah, I'll give it a 1.5.
It's 7 mana. It's 7 mana 4/4.
Yeah, right. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, so yeah, I'm fine either way.
Okay.
Belligerent Giant. I think it's a 4.5.
I agree.
Back then, it would have been a 5.
It's an amazing card, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tempo flip from Belligerent Giant, like this card can force so many cards out of the meta.
It's like Lightning Bolt, right? It was Lightning Bolt syndrome, and some cards have Belligerent Giant syndrome.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just so flexible too. Like I think it's hilarious that this has the Destroy a support line on it. It's like, why? They're just like, oh, we have this. It's like one of the best cards in the game. Let's just slap this extra clause on it. Why not? We'll just make it better. Like there's no reason it needs to have that line. It just does because it's Belligerent Giant. It just gets to be the best red card. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, there wasn't many support removal, so that you need a Belligerent Giant. And also...
even now, there isn't that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying for me, I just feel like the card, even without... I'm not saying that, like, from a design perspective, it shouldn't be there. I'm just saying that even without that, this card is ridiculous. Like, it's so good. And, like, you would still see it all over the place without that ability, and that's just gravy.
Oftentimes, even if there's a support on board, you rather flip something else. And you can also flip your own minion with this card. Like, I've even flipped Merrick with this card in one matchup. It's kind of insane. Like, it has this versatility.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the nerf, like, made it more vulnerable to Dawn's Wrath. So, like, back then, in a meta where there was Naha Gleaves and big minions...
Well, now you can sort of interact with it somehow, like you can force your opponent to play this in the field lane, like it doesn't just automatically go shadow every time. So yeah, the nerf was relevant, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah. Because before you could bounce it and then go to the other lane to race, and that was just too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's we're talking about they like nerfed one of the best cards in the game to still one of the best cards in the game. Like,
I really like the way they nerfed it. It's still really, really good, but it doesn't feel as unfair anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or solid 4.5.
Yeah, these sees play all over the place.
I'm finding 4.5. Like it doesn't go into all red decks. Like I can feel like, for example, Rage Archer that most of the time you don't run it. Some of them.
I strongly disagree with that, but I think you should. I think you should always be playing Bellies and Rage. But I know that's been a contested opinion over time, and I know that for a long time, like the Aini build was the build. But I've been strongly in opposition since literally like last summer. So that's something we can disagree on.
Let's move on to the next card.
Yeah.
Duel atop of the world.
Can you give something a 0?
So.
It has breakthrough synergy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
And moving on.
Wow, we're moving so slow. I think we should pick up the pace. Like we're gonna spend like the next 6 hours here if we don't.
Right.
Hey, we're almost to red.
1 or 2? 1.
Yeah, it's very hard to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a meme card. I mean, obviously Ian was playing it in a deck for a bit that seemed like it was doing okay, but it's never going to be good. So
yeah, you have to really go out of your way to make it work, and in the effect, it's not that amazing. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's not worth the synergy. Okay, so 1.5.
I'd say even 1, but yeah, 1.5 is fine.
1.5. Rodger Forge.
Okay, let's move on. Rothgar Forge.
I think this card is awful. I think that we were talking about, you know, the tempo loss of Baroness. Like, this is a 7 mana do nothing. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it's excusable.
Yeah, I mean, you can get continuous, like, never-ending value from it, but it's not amazing. There was a deck that used to play it, really, like back, I don't know, like 3-4 months back. And yeah, it was quite common, but it was never good. Like, none of the top players actually.
Tier 2 deck. Tier 2 control archer deck. Well, last year.
You think?
Yeah, I mean,
way back.
No, yeah. I mean, there were people who were convinced this was a rage card, and they were wrong.
No way, you can't have that many win conditions.
Yeah, this is yeah.
Okay, I can leave it at 2 and go to next card.
Yep.
Rage.
Yeah. Okay, so Rage is a really discussed card. It was even nerfed. So how do you feel about it after nerf?
Oh, combined with the TGR nerf, it feels much more fair because 5 mana rages were a little too absurd.
Yeah, that's something we can all agree on. Like, there was one game that I had Leto already. It was maybe turn 9, and then the opponent had the ring. Then he ringed Belligerent Giant into Rage for 10 Magicka,
gosh.
I lost my whole board, and I think I was like on 2 HP. And then that was it. Like, I lost the game because of that. Right. So yeah, but after I think the TGR nerf was quite was a good nerf.
Good.
I agree.
Anyway, back to Rage. It's like, I don't think that Rage Archer is unplayable right now. I think it still has a place, and it's obviously a deck that's built around Rage. Like, that's why it's named Rage Archer, because it has so much Rage synergy, and your opponent has to always think, oh, what if my opponent has Rage? I need to interact with his board, right? And yeah, I think it has a place, but I'm not sure it has a place in any other class.
Well, so there's Dagoth, right? Control Dagoth usually runs 1 or 2 of these. Like, I know PETA TC Dagoth runs, I think, 2 most recently. And obviously there's just the straight up Control Dagoths, like Joe's list from the tournament, which was an Aquaman list, I think, ran 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I would give this a 3.5, but I don't see it working in the meta right now. Yeah.
It's also the Control Crusader with this is also a tech, like a meta choice. It's not a deck that you really run on ladder, but it's like that's something you can tech in as an option.
But you don't have to grab this card, so it's just from the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever dust this because there's just too many decks. I mean, unless you just hate those archetypes, because it could also, the meta could also just shift. But yeah, I mean, there's just too many strong decks that use it.
Yeah, like Rage is good tech against conscription and like combo decks, like pay to max deck.
And again, I would say I think the Control Dagoth is probably a tier 1 deck, maybe a tier 1.5. So I think that's all you really need to know.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on to so we finished Red Epics. It took us how long?
An hour.
Almost an hour. Okay, we gotta speed things up.
6 hours of this. Woohoo!
7. We have also multicolored. Okay.
Oh,
so top 5. 1 Belligerent. I think Spinner. It's not really a Belligerent Giant meta right now, but
no. I think Belly's better than Spinner in a vacuum, but I don't know. Obviously, Spinner goes in more decks, so maybe for that reason.
Yeah, I would go. If I'm a new player, I would prefer to have a Spinner over Belly.
So 1 would be Spinner, 2 would be Belligerent Giant.
Yeah.
3, I would put
Withered. Yeah.
Would Dushnik fit in top 5? Probably, right?
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
So Dushnik at 4, and
Dushnik maybe.
And then
Sharpshooter.
I think
because he just sees more play than Bannerman.
Okay, Sharpshooter 4 and Dushnik 5. Like those are the staples.
Alright, I'll edit that in.
Right.